What I'm going to tell you, like, the market has changed. We did say last week it was becoming a buyer's market, but it's rapidly going that way. And so some of the numbers I have here, you know what, you know who took a really big crunch was Niagara Falls. So like in the height in Niagara Falls, in April of this year, I'm going back 6 months this year. The benchmark price in Niagara Falls was $665,000, but right now we're at $564,000. So it's actually like it's dropped. Like I don't know what's going on in Niagara Falls. Like it's like I know Niagara Falls was really pushing it, and I felt the numbers were high, but it's really adjusted itself. Like St. Catharines in the height was 625,000 in May, but right now it's at 605. So it didn't drop as much as Niagara Falls for the benchmark price. So it's just you know what, I just don't know what's going on in Niagara Falls, but they only sold 66 homes in Niagara Falls in September, and the average sale price year over year, or not average, benchmark price is down 13% year over year. Lincoln is down 16%. Fonthill Pelham's up 12% benchmark price from year over year. And then St. Catharines is up 3% from year over year. So it's like a big mixed bag of everything that's happening out there, and it's hard to gauge. Like I'll tell you, Tim, the way the market's going, you cannot predict what's happening. Like in the last 3-4 years, we've had basically everything. It's like having, tropical rain from the south, and having hurricanes, and having tornadoes and fires and all that stuff. We've been thrown in all of that with this real estate market. And it's been crazy.
But it does drive home the importance of having somebody who's familiar with the market, somebody who's well aware of what's going on in Niagara Falls or in Lincoln or in getting a real estate agent that knows the local market, because they'll be able to guide you through whichever town or city you happen to be in.
Absolutely. You know what? I was just on an evaluation yesterday, and I went through everything. And there was 2 other houses on the street that sold. One that sold close to the mid 700s, and another one that sold for 680. And these houses were very close. And I said to him, I go, look, they sold a little earlier than we did now, like 2 months. Difference can make a big difference right now. Like they sold 2 months ago, and I said to him, so just beware. So I said to him, look, I think 749.9 is, you're right on the mark. But I've been sitting down in this seat many times, and I'd say to him 749.9 list, and then I find out later we have to drop it. So, and he agreed. He said he's all on board. I gave him what I think it is, and I gave him what the future could be. So there's no surprises with him. So he actually knows exactly what our strategy is going to be. And so that there's no surprises. What happens a lot of times is a lot of realtors, they'll go in and say, hey, let's list at 850 and see what the market does. And then they end up saying, okay, it's not going at 850, drop to 800, not going, drop to 750, not going. So the seller gets frustrated and upset and say, what's going on? And they're chasing the market down. So first of all, they were way overpriced. The realtor is probably just trying to give him a high number to get the contract, so that he knows that he'll like that number. And then once he's got him under contract, and now he's going to beat you up on the price, and you're stuck with him. So don't get caught up into that. And I always say, listen, if you think it's too much, it is too much, because you're the owner of the house and you live there. Now, and a lot of times people think that. They look at that. But now, if you want too much, you can try it. There's no doubt, but have the strategy. That you're going to adjust it to the price where the market will pay for it. And in this market that we're in now, I'm telling you, the buyers are so smart. They know what's going on. There's inventory levels are going up. So they've got choices. They've got time. Like there was a house on a bungalow in Grimsby. I drove by and I said, wow, that is nice. I loved the location was fantastic. And they priced it to sell, and it was listed at $1 million. I said, shoot, I liked it so much that I live in a bungalow, and I'm like I wanted it, but I don't need it. It's like, you know what I mean? You know what's it's a good deal. There's a good deal, and you're thinking, okay, it's a good deal, but I don't need it. But shoot, I should buy it. But anyway, it was a good deal. So. A friend of mine, his girlfriend was buying it, and he calls me up, and he thought I had it, and I said no. I said, and he goes, listen, my girlfriend's going in at $1,165,000 over asking because there was 4 offers on it. I said to him, and I said, if you're not going in cash, don't bother wasting your time. And they did go in cash. They did get it. I don't think they had to go that high up because a lot of people aren't jumping that far up, but he's still good on the price where this bungalow was located. He could put $500,000 into this house, renovate it, and it will be worth 1.5 to 1.6 million. No problem. See, there was a deal there. He jumped on it. The girlfriend jumped on it, and it worked out well. But if you price it right, you're going to get more. And these people priced it at $1 million, and they got $1,165,000. Fantastic deal. It was a fantastic bungalow. I thought it was a great deal. So there's good properties, but now if that house was listed at 1.5 million, forget it. It'd be sitting on the market for a long time. People would look at it. Nobody would touch it. And guess what? When you overprice a house, your best buyers come in the first 10 days, first 2 weeks, 10 days, and they go through it. And if they don't feel that's the price, you just lost all that pool of buyers that was looking for a house in that price point. You just lost. Even if you reduce it, they brainwash themselves in their mind, indicating why they do not like it. So now when you do price it to the price that it should be at, they've triggered their brain not to like it. They triggered it. They say, you know what, it was overpriced. It had too many problems. So they give a reason in their mind why they don't like it, because first of all, it was overpriced. Now mentally they're trying to say to themselves, no good. And guess what? Even if you reduce it, they're not looking at it. So the thing is, price it right from the start, and you will get full price or more. And in this market that we're in now, you cannot play around. Now, December, I'm telling you, it's a buyer's market big time. So if you're a buyer, go start fishing around. You could put 30 offers on 30 different properties and lowball them. I bet you 10% are going to bite and take your offer because they need to sell. So price it right and you'll get it. It's a crazy market.
I had some people who listen to the show on a regular basis, and they're kind of thinking of dipping their toe into the market and whatnot, just saying, I held off because I knew I couldn't compete with the people coming in from Toronto or the people coming in from the GTA in general. Coming down here, they've got themselves a pocket full of money, and I couldn't compete by buying a home here because I was always going to get outbid. Now, is that still happening? Is there a huge rush out of the GTA to Niagara and other places outside of the GTA?
You know what? They're still coming, but they're just as cautious as the local buyer. So the playing field is the same. So they're not jumping in aggressively and saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you $200,000 over asking." They're not doing that. If you jump in, if a house gets on the market right away, right? If you know the market well enough, you go in and you give them an offer of what the value is. And the homeowner should know the value. If it's a good agent, a good realtor that has the house for sale, there's no doubt that realtor gave them the number that it's probably going to sell for. And if you come in with that number on your price, they will accept your offer. And like I said, but if the realtor goes in and says a number that's $200,000 higher, even though you come in with the market value number, which is a good number, they'll refuse it, but they'll regret it 2, 3, 4, 5 months later, and then they'll realize they hired the wrong guy to sell their house. So you got to be careful. But like I said, The people out there with the money know the market better than the realtor and the sellers, and they're the ones that's shopping, right? Our job is to figure what is a willing buyer willing to pay, and we're trying to figure that out. And sometimes we're off a little bit, but we're pretty close to it.
While we're talking about TO for a couple of minutes here, there was a story this week about the supply of homes in Toronto. Particularly, everybody talks about, we got to build homes. We got to build homes. And there was a story about how Toronto housing construction was like a decade behind where they needed to be. That's got to be a bit of a concern for people in the real estate business.
It is. So here's the thing. We're a decade behind, okay? And we're not even building houses that much right now. I think a few weeks ago, there was only 17 builds in the first quarter of last year, and one in either Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. So I'm going to tell you, so even in the next 20 years, housing prices are going to still go up. Every so often, every 7 to 10 years, there's an adjustment period. We're going through that adjustment period right now. So time is coming where you can buy right now, not a problem, but your house prices double every 10 years, regardless. So if you're buying now, you got the right house, fantastic. You're going to look at the house that you just bought, and 2 years from now say, thank God we bought this house because it's worth this much more now. So with the Canada being behind, in 20 years, we're still not catching up. We will not catch up in 20 years or even 25, 30 years. I'm going to tell you, we're so far behind, there's no way. We got shortage of labor. We've got shortage of homes. We got massive immigration happening. The catch-up will never happen. Even if we stopped immigration right now for 5 years, we still won't catch up in 5 years to match that. So we're so far behind. I mean, I think we need to build 1.5 million homes in Ontario. I think it's 3.5 million all across Canada, and it's impossible to get that number. So we're going to be behind. In 10 years from now, they're going to say we're 20 years behind. And
okay, so you're the premier for 5 minutes.
Yes.
What do you do? You're a real estate guy, but you're the premier for 5 minutes. What do you do in order to get more homes built and change the situation?
You got to open up some farmlands that are very tight, close to the city centers. And I know people don't like hearing that, but I mean, hey, every single one of us that live in a house right now was farmland at one time. So guess what? We came to this country to live here for a better life. We're all descendants from immigration, from whether it's 500 years ago or even 50 years ago or even last year.
But there were people who were going to say that's all well and good, except that if you get rid of farmland, it never comes back, and we can't get rid of all of our farmland. We
got more land in this country that for the next 2,000 years or 5,000 years, we got so much land. We have to grow and expand from where we are now, and there's no doubt. Otherwise, the cost for everybody, it's not going to be good, and then we're going to see so much depression, so much poverty in our country that it'll be too late to fix. It'll be way too late.
Will that help the people who are having problems affording a house right now? Because we can build, fairly substantial houses, but are we building ones that people can actually afford?
Well, that's the problem because there's such a big demand. You know how we can afford this? If the government helped first-time buyers, even give them the down payment, and the opportunity is, hey, if you keep this house for 20 years, you don't have to pay that down payment back. But if you sell this house within 20 years, you just give us the exact amount of money that we gave you to buy this house, but at least you built some equity. You can go on to another house. So I think if they did that, it's great. Instead of giving money to everybody else around the world, help our own country.
He's Rob Golfi with RE/MAX, the Golfi team, as we talk what's going on in the real estate business. You can't talk about real estate these days without talking about some of the newest developments, and of course, Airbnb is one of those. And if you've been thinking of getting yourself a home or using yours as an Airbnb, you probably need to hear this next story about an Airbnb tenant who didn't move out. What? How did this happen, Rob?
I'm surprised we didn't hear this story earlier. So this lady goes in and rents this Airbnb. I think it's in California, and it was a little bit longer than usual. And now she doesn't want to move out. She's a tenant now. She is not moving out. And basically she's saying, "You want me to move out? Give me $100,000 and I'll be out of here." And yeah, like it's a nightmare. This guy just wanted to Airbnb his house out, make some money. I think he's a doctor that owns it. And now he's going through a nightmare with this lady that's become a tenant. And she says, "If you want me out, pay me $100,000." Now, and you know how the landlord-tenant boards are. And I don't know how they are in California, but it's pretty tough, just as tough as it is here in Ontario. And he's going to have to do something about it. Now, she even put against him, there was some not work orders, but there's some things that were done to the house that maybe didn't have permits or whatever, just small stuff, right? So he's trying to get those rectified, but she's not allowing those people to go in to fix it. So basically, it's a sad sight, and
don't you have to sign a contract?
It doesn't matter
when you get into an Airbnb to say I'm staying for such and such a length of time, and at the end of that, doesn't the owner have the right to kick them out?
They have the right, but if they become a tenant, it's just like the contract we sign with tenants with long-term rentals in Ontario. Like you say, hey, you give them 60 days notice because you're selling it. They don't move out. You can't. It's tough. And so this lady, she's taking advantage of somebody that has money, and she says, "You want me out? I want $100,000," and he'll probably eventually have to pay her the $100,000. I mean, this person is obviously not a nice person that's doing this. Okay, so one day she's going to piss off the wrong person, and it's not going to be good for her down the road. You know how they say karma always bites you. So, but I mean, it's tough, and I'm surprised we didn't hear stories like this more. Now, will Airbnb insure this guy? Like, you know what I mean? Because they have some kind of insurance about this. Who knows? So maybe they'll cover him and stuff like that for
Airbnb is claiming that because she's stayed so long, it's no longer an Airbnb.
Yes,
so it doesn't fall under their auspices anymore.
That's
right?
their way out. That's their see how it is. See how everybody starts saying, "Oh, that's my problem now. That's not my problem." I know we're insured for this. So I'm sure they're going to redo their contracts when all the new Airbnb landlords sign up. But yeah, I'm surprised. Like, you see, you don't know. Like this world is made for the bad people. The laws are made for them, not made for the people trying to help other people. They're made to take advantage of other people, and that's the sad part. But stuff like this that happens, you put somebody in a bad predicament where financially it could ruin them. Problems happen. Like, that's how things get ugly, and that's how the police get involved, and that's how, like, it's not good. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened. We haven't heard about it elsewhere. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure that people have moved in, they stayed for a month, and then the owner is going, "Okay, hey, we're ready to bring our cleaners in to clean up," and they go, "No, we're not moving out." So not only they're not paying anymore, they're just staying there, and they can stay there for 6 months to a year without paying before it goes to the tribunal. And that's if the guy doesn't make a mistake on the paperwork going in. The guy, can you imagine? You go in, you waited 8-9 months or a year to the landlord-tenant board, and you misspelled something. It could be an E at the end of their name or something like that, but you understand it is them, or their first name. You put John on there, or instead of Jonathan. And the judge is going to say, "Well, his name is Jonathan, not John." Give me a break. That's the kind of crap that landlords have to deal with going to the landlord-tenant board. This is John or Jonathan, and that's his last name there. Why do we have to reapply again and wait another 9-10 months? And they should not allow that. And I can't believe the government is even accepting this kind of behavior that's happening in these courts. Hey, this guy is not paying, and get like he should be out of there. Why because you made a little mistake on a form, you have to go through all that. It's terrible, and they shouldn't do it. And I'm surprised this Airbnb, this story came out. I saw this on social media. I couldn't believe it, so I looked it up online, and there was an article online about this. So I feel sorry for the guy. I guarantee he's gonna have to pay the $100,000 to get this person out. It's a multi-million-dollar house, right? So it's probably like a $5 million house. So you know what?
Let's bring it back here to Niagara for a minute. And we talked about in the beginning of the program today that it's a buyer's market. So let's talk to people who are trying to sell a home right now. And when you hear it's a buyer's market, that means, oh boy, this is going to be a challenge. Talk to people who are selling homes right now and what they can do to counteract the fact that it's a buyer's market, Rob.
So to counteract that, the number one thing is pricing strategy. You have to go. So look, if you look at a graph on a piece of paper, you got to find out, okay, here is what the value of the property is. You got to price it just under that little dot right there. And that's the key factor of selling a house in a market like this. Curb appeal and staging is so important right now. It's like you need to when people are coming through and even driving by your house, like it's got to look good. You got to make sure you don't have weeds growing. You got to make sure the grass is cut, trimmed, everything. Driveway black sealed, power washed, everything. You got to have painted. You don't want to have paint peeling all over the place when you're driving by a house. You want to show that your outside is crispy, very nice. Then people will say, you know what, the inside must be nice too. So you got to make sure that is done. Marketing, I'm going to tell you, it's very important. We spend a lot of money online marketing your house. We compare ourselves to every agent in Ontario. We rank number one on Google Trends when it comes to the amount of people looking at our listings versus other agents' listings. So, and I challenge anybody that wants to challenge me on this, because I do this all the time when I'm with clients sitting down. I said, hey, give me 3 agents' names in Ontario, and I says, I'll show you that we get more views on our listings than anybody else. So that's very important. Negotiating, you got to make sure you got a strong negotiator on your hands. You don't want somebody that's scared and weak. You want somebody that's going to be strong, because be able to stand up to anything that comes at them. And that's so important, so important. Timing is tough because you don't know what week is good and what week is wrong. The market changes week by week, and it's not month by month, not year by year. It changes week by week. So hopefully that the week that you put it up, it's the first week. Perfect. You get lots of action, and you get an offer right away. It doesn't matter what the market's like. People are buying homes all the time. People have to move, and so the market's always good. So inspections, get an inspection done. You better look at your attic. A lot of people don't even know what's in their attic. Take a look. You may have some squirrely things running around up there you don't know about. And you know what I mean? You want to take care of that. You don't want a home inspector coming in, buying the house and say, hey, man, this guy's got a lot of stuff happening up here. We better not go through with this deal. So be careful and fix all the little things. Caulk the windows and paint, and just take care of the house. You know what really looks bad? It's the finishes. You know the baseboard trim? Baseboard trim. Sometimes there's a little bit of gap between the baseboard that touches the wall. Right. Caulk that. Clean it up. Because I'll tell you something. You could have the most perfect room, and there's one little flaw in one corner of the room. Guess what? They look at that. So that's the key thing. And a lot of times when people build houses, they build it, and by the time when they get to the finishes, they can't afford to finish it because the cost did too much. So it's the finishing touches are the key things. But those are very important things when you're selling in a tough market that we're in. You just got to take care of your things.
Do fixer-uppers not sell? Or do they appeal to just a very small part of the market?
Fixer-uppers, like let's say are you talking about a guy that wants to flip a house?
Well, just houses that don't look like what you're describing. People who have let it go, haven't painted in a long time. don't have a lot of curb appeal. They just haven't, maintained as well. And they just decide, all right, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to sell it as is. I'm not going to fix it up. I'm not going to spend any money fixing it up. I'll, keep my price a little bit lower, and they can buy it as it is. Does that sell?
It does. Perfect opportunities for everybody. My son bought a house, and he told me, he says, you know what, needs a little bit of work. And I says, fantastic. I go, perfect. I says, you know what you start off with? Just paint it. And then after that, do little projects at a time as you save more money to do the different projects. But you know what? I'm telling you, do a nice paint job, and then you just write a list of everything that you want to accomplish over time. Don't, like, the one thing sometimes people want to do is they move in and they want to do everything because they want to invite everybody over to their new house, and they want to share. They want to, because they're so proud of this new house that they have, and then they break the bank trying to get their house looking good and doing everything. So when they invite their family and friends, it's all done. But now you're broke. Now you're like, can I make the next mortgage payment? You don't want that. You want to just one step at a time. Everybody is happy for you to have and bought a new house. Don't feel like it's not good enough that your friends and family come over and judge it. If they judge you, you don't ever want to invite those guys to your house again, and don't even bother to go visit them, because they're not your friends or family. They're not your friends. So the thing is, just one step at a time. Walk. Don't run. Don't kill yourself trying to make such a beautiful house to please other people. You got to take care of yourself and do it slow and surely.
Wow, I've seen so many of those fixer-uppers over the years, and I'm just not good at fixing stuff up myself. So it's one of those things I just haven't paid a lot of attention to. As soon as I see fixer-upper or needs a little love, I kind of move on, because I want something I can move into.
Absolutely. There's so many of those houses. Like, so for one thing, so sometimes people tell me, say, Rob, should I, like, the whole house is dated, it needs work everywhere. He goes, should I fix this bathroom up? I said, no. I said, because it's not going to change the price. If you fix the bathroom, you got to do the kitchen, you got to do the flooring, you got to do everything else. So don't do that. So whoever buys this house knows they have to either update it, clean it up, fix it up, whatever it is. But if you think, just putting countertops on an old kitchen cabinets is going to change the price, it's not going to change the price. So you need to be careful how much money you put in, because you could put $10,000 into a dated house that doesn't show the difference. You're not going to get that $10,000 back. So be very, very careful of what money you put in. The key component, if you want to sell a house and get people in there, is just get the curb appeal. Like, to me, when I look at a property, the more bush and trees, overgrown stuff, and everything there is, I go, hey, I could see past that, and I look into it. And if I see, I've got a property, all the flooring's getting ripped out, all the trim doors are getting ripped out, kitchen's getting ripped out, and the bathroom's getting ripped out. Easy. All the walls are staying the same. Nothing's changing. So it's not going to be that expensive. It's probably about to do all that. It's probably about maybe $80,000, $75,000 changeover. So that's not that bad. And but if you're a first time buyer and you want to do stuff, paint the cabinets, paint the walls, paint the trim. Do all that other stuff later. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You don't have to break the bank to make a house look good. I'm telling you, paint. I'm telling you, the return on investment on paint is like fantastic.
You were talking about things that you can do to fix your house up, and you were saying, people sometimes spend money in the wrong places, expecting that it's going to change the price. Here's a question for you: is there a renovation that you can do? What renovation can you do that will affect the price? Like, they say, like, kitchens and bathrooms make a big difference to people. If your bathroom is really outdated, will that affect the price? If your kitchen is outdated, is there something you can do that will make a difference?
There is. So let's say you've got one of those 1960 homes. It's got the, small blue tile. The bathroom is solid, the tile is solid, and what you can do is, for minimal cost, you can change the countertops, paint the cabinets, and paint the room color to make that room modernized to a certain degree, and you get a shower curtain that kind of everything just kind of flows nicely. You'd be surprised how you can have a dated 1950s, 60s bathroom look like it was just modernized and retro. So it could be so we know people do that, and sometimes we advise them, just again, take your time. Kitchens, you can get them painted, professionally painted. I know they cost like $5,000 to $6,000. Put a new countertop, and then you can add some pieces to it. So you can have a kitchen, a brand new looking kitchen for like $5,000 to $6,000. You know what I mean? You get a professional come in and paint it, and after that, it's just painting the house, and that's the way to do it to start off. But once you start ripping out a kitchen, then you want to get new appliances, and then you want to start doing it. It just adds up. It doesn't stop. Then you say, well, we might as well rip out this wall to make the kitchen bigger. Work with what you got. But the thing is, kitchen and baths are the key factor to bringing value to your house. There's no doubt about it. But you can do it at a minimal cost. You know what I mean? If you're buying a house, if you're flipping, put a new kitchen in. But you'd be surprised that a lot of these guys that do flip houses don't put a new kitchen in. They're painted, and you think they're brand new, but they're not. They've done a good job hiring the right people to update these kitchens.
Let me talk to Rob Golfi, the landlord, for a second. There was an ad in a real estate paper the other day in Windsor for a 6-bedroom apartment for rent, and if I read it correctly, it was advertised at $325 a month. For a 6-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. $325, which seems like a ridiculously low price, but what were they getting? And do you see a lot of this?
You know what? I think you will see it as it's just like a rooming house almost. But what it is it was a big room, and it had like these closet, those closets on wheels, like you roll them around, like you can cover the clothes. That was the barrier between each mattress on the floor. So
that was
basically,
the definition of a bedroom.
A definition of a bedroom. So basically, you're sleeping in a room with 6 other people, whether they can snore or whatever. Like you have one bathroom, you got one kitchen, and you got 6 people in one room. And basically, it's not like you have a curtain. It's like there's a curtain or some kind of partition in between you and the next guy that's sleeping next, like to the next partition over. It's something like, you know what? It's almost like you go to if there's a hurricane, everybody's going to an arena and they need a place to sleep, and the government put this temporary place so that everybody has shelter. It's like that almost, but because of the cost of renting an apartment or even a bachelor unit or whatever, it's so expensive. So people have to share. And I think it's okay for guys don't care where they live. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I'll tell you, if there was no women in this world, being in the real estate business would be the worst thing in the world, because guys, they could stay in the same house for their entire life. They don't care.
I still want walls, Rob. I'm sorry. I still want walls.
Okay, I would want walls too. Okay, I'd want little privacy, but the one thing is, look what it's coming to. You know what I mean? And the city is, and the government's saying, no problem. We're going to keep one eye closed. We're not going to enforce you to not do that, because people need places to sleep and places to live. But that's where it's going to. A guy in Windsor's doing this. He says he's got this room. He's going to divide it up into like partitions with curtains, and throws a mattress on the floor, and you can sleep there. Now, women, I don't think they would do that as much. You know what I mean? But men, guys, I mean, they can flop themselves on a mattress, no problem.
All right, when anybody gets into a real estate deal, buying, selling, whatnot, and then they know they have to pay lawyers' fees, and there are a lot of stuff that you have to sign. Heaven knows if you've signed a real estate contract, there's all kinds of things to sign. There's probably good reason for that, because litigation disputes in Canada can come up for the littlest things in real estate. People can take people to court. They can challenge this, challenge that. And that's a story that you have to see as a real estate guy. You see litigation disputes all the time, right? Talk to me about some some of the things that come up a lot.
Absolutely. Boundary disputes are sometimes a big issue. Sometimes people think they're getting property. So let's say, here's one great example. So there was a house, it was backing onto a farm field, but the owner of this house cut the lawn an additional 50 feet behind him. That was the farmer's farm. So did the other neighbor. So it looked like that additional 50 feet was part of the house, right? So the homeowner or the buyer goes there, hey, wow, look at this. What a yard. Perfect. Yeah, I love it. Okay, let's put the offer in. And then when they move in, they find out that is not part of it. That was just what they just cut that lawn just to make it look like it was theirs, and all the neighbors would do the same thing. So that buyer perceived that lawn that was cut with the house was part of the property. I mean, he didn't go out and measure out with a measuring tape saying, hey, this is only a 150-foot lot, not a 200-foot lot. He saw the measurement on the listing. It said 150-foot lot, but the average person doesn't know the distance between 150 to 200 just looking at it. You just assume that that's part of the property. So sometimes there's disputes on that. And so, you know what? It just depends on what was portrayed and what was, mentioned. Will the buyer win? It's a tough case. It's a tough case. If it was fenced in and it wasn't his, he's got a great case for sure. And sometimes titles insurance will help him with that. And titles insurance will even try to buy that little piece from the farmer so that to rectify everything. And I've seen that happen too, where titles insurance. That's the one thing, is everybody should get titles insurance. So that's one thing. Breach of contract. Sometimes people don't fulfill what they were supposed to do prior to leaving the house. Like the homeowner said, okay, we're going to take care of this, or you know what I mean? And things didn't get done on closing date. There's always issues like that. Maybe the pool was supposed to, it could be anything. There could be so many different things. Title disputes, there's always title disputes. There's so many different things that you'd be surprised on what happens on after people move in, or even before. Sometimes I had one guy, we sold, I represented the buyer on this one house, and the property line, the way the fence line was 1 foot short. And the buyer, I think at the time, wanted to get out of the deal. And the lawyer says, you're not going to be able to get out of the deal for a 1 foot difference. It's not going to happen. And so he did close. He still lives there. He's been living there for, he's probably there for about good 15, 20 years now. So obviously, he's just looking for something different. Landlord-tenant disputes. I just had one. I was talking to a guy Wednesday night. And he told me he gave somebody 60 days notice because he sold a property. You know what the tenant said? I'm not moving out. Can you believe that?
A lot of that going on this week.
I mean, they were good tenants. They had a good relationship, and he says, I'm not moving out. So now he's got to go through the whole process of evicting this tenant, filling out the forms, and he's going to get his hearing in 8 to 10 months or a year or whatever. And then that tenant will have to figure something out. So like that's the thing that they have to go through. Zoning and land disputes. Sometimes if either a realtor didn't do the research on the property, and the people moved in, and the zoning is changing or going to change or something like that, especially if you're near commercial areas and stuff like that. There's foreclosure and power of sales. I'll tell you the one thing. If you buy a power of sale, you got to be very, very careful. There's nothing you can go after that. They have a Schedule B that goes with the contract. And in there it says that, hey, let's say somebody breaks all the windows the night before you take possession. They don't care. You're taking possession. Hey, they say you're getting it the way it is no matter what happens to the house between the time you sign the contract to the time you move in. We had one guy purposely destroyed the inside of the house on the property. We had plumbing issues. Like you cannot go to the bank and say, hey, you know what? I didn't know that this house had this problem. I didn't know that. You cannot go back on them. The banks have an ironclad contract. Once you take possession, that's it. You're done. There's no going back. And that's the tough part about buying a power sale. You really 99% or 98% of the time when you buy a power sale, you could see what the issues are, but there's always that 1% where there's issues.
Do you ever get people who come into you and say, like, I don't need a lawyer. I'm not going to spend the extra money on having a lawyer do. I trust everybody. I'm just going to sign everything. Do you ever get those people?
I get not that often. I probably get one every 5 years. And I go, listen, you can't close this deal without a lawyer, and you don't want to close this deal without a lawyer. You need the lawyer to close this deal. And even lawyers make mistakes, and they know it all. Like, you know what I mean? But like they might miss something. You know what I mean? Like, so I wouldn't take the chance not closing a deal without a lawyer. I mean, you can try and do it on your own, and to save $800, $1,000. And if a mistake's made, you think when you go to court and say, hey, well, you closed the deal yourself, you should have known. Like if you hired a lawyer, they would have protected you from whatever situation that you're in. So you got to be very, very careful. But there's always disputes. I mean, even another thing, if the homeowner hides things, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what, the one thing I saw one time. So a house had, the house looked beautiful and everything. But when the homeowners moved out, all the baseboards, they were only up to the couch lines. So basically behind the couch, there was no baseboards, but up to the couch, there was. Up to the chair, up to behind where the bed was. Like they must have just did the baseboards when the furniture was all there. They didn't move the furniture. And when the people moved in, they go, wow, there's the baseboards in every room were kind of like they didn't finish it. And because you don't expect baseboards not to be behind the entire circular of the room. And so, I mean, what do? You can't do nothing. You bought the house, and you just got to find the matching baseboard to finish that baseboard trim on the house. Well,
and I guess it makes sense too that if you're involved in any sort of a dispute, that you get a real estate lawyer rather than your buddy's brother-in-law who does, other kinds of law. But you need a real estate lawyer who knows the ins and outs of this, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you a story, and I know we have short time. Don't give it to a corporate lawyer because corporate lawyers do real estate law too, but you got to make sure they do it. I had years ago on the contract, it says that the lawyer, the purchasing lawyer should search title 2 weeks or more prior to closing. So if there's any issues, you can resolve them before closing. You got 2 weeks to resolve it instead of waiting the last day. So my buddy, I sent the deal to his lawyer and everything. He didn't search title till the day before closing. And there was issues on title that could not be resolved within 24 hours. The lawyer tried to blame me, and I said to my friend, look, I sent this to the lawyer. It says he should have searched title 2 weeks before. He didn't do it. I says, don't let him point the finger at me because he's got the title as a lawyer. This guy did not do his job. And he went to his lawyer and says, you messed me up. And it was the lawyer's fault. And he was a corporate lawyer. He wasn't, and he only did corporate, but he shouldn't have taken the job on. He shouldn't have taken that job on. He didn't know what he was doing. And it cost my client, they had to wait another, I think, a week or two to resolve that $50,000 issue that was on title.
If you've got questions and real estate is in your future, you want to buy or sell your home, call the number one RE/MAX team in Canada, the Golfi Team, at 905-641-0308. Or go online to robgolfi.com and listen to the Golfi Real Estate Show every week, or look for other episodes wherever you find your podcasts. Rob, have a fabulous weekend, my friend.
Thank you. Have you too.